I'm going to say something that's going to piss off probably every single cold email guru on YouTube. Your cold emails are probably fine. Like, they're not the problem at all. The copy, the subject line, the offer, the personalization, it's probably good enough by now because you've watched so many of these types of videos on YouTube. But the reason you're not closing deals has nothing to do with what you're sending, but it has everything to do with what happens after someone replies. Look, I run a cold email agency and we've booked over 1,000 meetings, generated over $1 million for our clients across multiple different industries. And the turning point for every single one of those campaigns that resulted in generating us these millions of dollars as well as booking these thousands of meetings was not a better cold email. It was actually what was built on the back end. And let me show you exactly what I mean. So you see, here's what every single cold email YouTube video looks like. You've seen it 100 times. How to write the perfect cold email script, how to create the perfect cold email offer, how to create a subject line that gets people to open. And those stuff works. I'm not saying it doesn't work. I've made videos like that myself. But the real issue is that there's a simple stat with cold emails that should bother you. And let me show you what that stat is. All right, so here's the actual shocking stat that I don't think a lot of people understand. First is that 48% of salespeople never follow up. And this is from Invest, which is they conducted a study and they found out, 48% of salespeople never ever follow up with their leads. And this is actually very ironic and it hurts them because according to Instantly, 42% of replies come from your follow-ups. And so a lot of people, their follow-up game is horrible. It's not the best and it's mediocre, right? If 42% of your replies will come from follow-ups and probably 40 and much more that will come from your deals, you need to be prioritizing your follow-ups and replies and reaching back out to people and booking them in your calendar, right? I can say from personal experience that yes, this stat is pretty accurate. Like a lot of our follow-ups and replies come in from, or a lot of replies come in from follow-ups. And so if this is not optimized, then you're just not going to have the best results that you could possibly have, right? See, that's not even the real problem, right? The real problem is what happens when someone does reply. Most people, agencies, B2B businesses, founders, they get a reply that says, yeah, I'm interested, tell me more. And then they respond like 4 hours later or a day later, or even sometimes multiple days later, right? By that point, your prospect has pretty much moved on. They've gotten like 3 other emails. They have stuff to do and things to run in the background, employees to hire. If you're selling to other founders as well, they'll be very busy managing payroll, going on meetings, things that are just happening in their life, right? Not to mention their even personal life, right? So they forgot why they were interested in the first place, and that window pretty much has closed, right? I learned this the hard way by handling the first few client campaigns. My emails were working, but the biggest thing that happened was that it just wasn't converting as much, right? We're getting replies, but we weren't really booking calls as much. Until I realized that like email was never the bottleneck. The actual response time and efficiency was. So here's what we changed, and here's the thing that literally doubled our booking rate versus just pure cold email. We built a full-on speed to lead system. The second, and I mean literally the second that someone replies with interested, hey, tell me more. The second someone says that, a webhook fires and it hits our Slack channel, it pings our appointment setter, and that prospect gets a call within 3 minutes or less. Literally that fast. Not multiple hours or even days. 3 minutes or less. That's what we shoot for, and that's what we do. And the difference that it makes is absolutely insane. Right? It's absolutely insane. Let me show you how this system actually works. So here's how the system actually works. This is the speed to lead system. Essentially, we get a positive response and it fires into our Slack channel with the person that responded, the campaign is from, the client as well as their phone number. And then from there, what we can do is just call them up. Our setter can just call them up. And you can see this client here, he actually ended up booking 17 calls from 2,500 emails. He got 61 leads total, but 17 calls from 2,500 emails. That is almost unheard of. For every 147 cold emails that we sent out, he booked a call. Like, do you, I want you to like really let that sink in. Those are insane numbers. It typically takes someone 500, 700, sometimes 1,000 emails to book a call. No, for us, every 147 emails that we booked to book the call. And the biggest reason for that was obviously because we had a good amount of leads, a good strong offer, but we had tons and tons of numbers that we enriched and found, and we called them up. That's the power of the system, and that's how you can see how passionate I'm getting. Is because it just changed the game for us forever, and how we do lead gen at our company forever. Now, that system is great, right? But speed is only a part of it. The other part is what you do when someone does reply, right? Most people just wing it, and someone says, "Hey, I'm interested," and they send back some type of generic, "Hey, here's my Calendly link, book a time," right? That's horrible. That's not going to do anything for your conversions, right? We built a full-on reply template and reply facilitation system. So here's what happens, right? When a reply comes in, it gets auto-categorized instantly, and if there's a positive reply that comes in, our setter calls in 3 minutes. If they don't pick up, we send them a personalized template based off of the offer and the person as well, showing them how our system works or how our offer works and how we can get them on the call, right? If there's an objection, our appointment setter handles it on the call, by the way. But if there's not an objection, he just writes a specific concern. He writes about the specific concern and he addresses that objection, right? If there's a tell me more, we just send them a case study via a template, or we actually call them and tell them about the case study. Again, this is all easily done if you have an appointment setter, because it just gets rid of that back and forth via email. If someone could have like, "Hey, tell me more," okay, we tell them more. "Hey, tell me about your price," okay, we tell them a little bit about the price. And that back and forth can take multiple days. And honestly, it's so much faster and quicker and easier to just call them up and be like, "Hey, tell me about the price." "Oh, okay, our price varies, but it's usually between this and this range." "Oh, okay, tell me more how the system works." "Oh, here's our system." "Oh, do you have case studies?" "Oh, yeah, here's our case." Like, it's literally, if you call, you can have the price objection handled, information request handled, as well as case study objection handled in less than 2-3 minutes. Like, it's so simple, so easy, right? And overall, it'll just book you so many more calls. Now, I want to show you now the actual back end and what it looks like from end to end, from that first email sent to actual booked call. Let me show you how. The actual full picture of how our workflow actually works. So first thing, obviously, put our leads in the campaign. We send out the cold email. We use Smart Lead. You can also use Instantly, but we use Smart Lead. Send out the cold email, right? From there, once we'll get an interest response. And once the interest response comes in, we have a webhook that fires and enriches their phone number. So we set this up using Clay. I can't show you all the Clay sauce, but we basically have it so that that positive response that comes in that gets auto tagged by Smart Lead immediately goes to a Clay table. And on that table, what ends up happening is we already have their email address, we have their name, we have the company website from the email that we sent out, right? And so because we have all this stuff, it becomes super easy to then just enrich their phone number and find it, right? Once it finds it, and by the way, the tool that we use to do this is Better Contacts. We just found that Better Contacts gives us the best bang for our buck. There's multiple other tools out there that you can use, but at massive scale, like that we're doing, Better Contacts is what we found to be the best. But once we find their phone number, we then send a Slack alert to our setter. So you can see the workflow here. It goes from Smart Lead to Clay. Clay enriches and finds number, and then the Clay pushes it into Slack so that it comes up with something like this, where it's like the campaign, the number, and our setter can literally just go to copy paste the email, and I believe it's right here. Yeah, link to message. You can just click on the message. It'll take him to Smart Lead and master inbox, and he already has the number right there, and you can just call him up. Super easy, super seamless. It's honestly not that hard. And once he calls him up, we try our best to call in 3 minutes or less, ideally 5 minutes or less. Sometimes our setter can be a little bit busy, as well as, sometimes Better Contacts and the webhook does take some time to fire. But once it does, the speed to lead system works super, super well. And again, you're skipping the back and forth via email. Let's say somebody had a question about, how does pricing work? Or how does this work? How does this work? And instead, you're just going right to the point and you're just calling them up. Super easy, right? And from there, he handles objections and books, right? It's honestly not that hard. There's a bunch of cold callers out there, right? There's a bunch of cold callers out there. Obviously, you want to make sure they're not from like the Philippines and you're saying some wild stuff or the accent's kind of bad. But overall, if you can just find a good cold caller that knows how to handle objections. This will be a piece of cake for him because technically this isn't even a cold call. This is a warm call. They already expressed this is like an opt-in to an ad, an opt-in to a funnel. This is super easy to just call up like, hey, I saw you just responded about this. I wanted to give you some more information, and then here's the information. By the way, let's get on a call. Will this work? This work or this work? That's the entire flow. And again, it's super easy if you just have a good cold caller to just handle objections, and you should be able to book. So here's the key takeaway, right? If you're spending all your time rewriting subject lines, offers for like the 15th time, and you've watched multiple cold email videos, and you're like, my cold emails aren't working. I'm not saying stop that. Like maybe it is working, but that's probably not your bottleneck by this point, right? You want to ask yourself, if you stayed this long and you watched this long, you want to ask yourself 3 simple questions. 1, when someone replies, how fast are you responding? If it's literally more than 10 to 15 minutes, you're losing deals. Straight up, like you're just losing deals. You want to build a alert or notification that pings you that every single time there's a positive response, whether it's Slack, whether it's email, whether it's ClickUp, Teams, whatever it may be, whatever you use, you want to build a notification system that just pings you for every single interested response. 2, the second question you want to ask is, what is your process? What is the follow-up process after the reply? Do you have one? Or are you just winging it every single time? You want to build a SOP and a standardized template that has everything handled. For us, it's interested information, it's pricing, it's meeting request, it's objections that they may currently have that we have templatized. Again, it's all super easy stuff. Like you should know your offer better than anybody else, and so it's super easy to just write that stuff down. All right. 3rd, are you tracking what happens after you've sent that response? Right. Are you following up the prospect? Are you giving them another phone call? Are you, sending more information, some case studies, handling objections, whatever it may be? Because again, 42% of the replies come from your follow-ups. And so in our case, I don't have the exact numbers on this, but in our case, I really think that yes, once you send that interest response template, or once you've even called them, you can proceed to call them multiple times. Think about it. They responded back that they're interested. They pretty much opted into your funnel. And so now it's your job that they're in your CRM to just follow up with them every single time until they say no or just fuck off, right? So just fix those 3 things, and I promise you'll book way more meetings than like any subject line or personalization or offer stuff, right? So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that is the entire system that we run for our clients and how you can also use it to double your booking rate. If you want to see, and if you want someone to set up this entire system for you, end to end, from cold email to positive reply enrichment to calling them for you, you absolutely can go to the link in the description, book a time to chat with me. And if not, totally fine. Typically, we're taking clients right now anywhere in the range of doing $20,000 to $30,000 a month minimum for our B2B businesses, specifically agencies, SaaS, whatever it may be, financial firms. But overall, if you find this video valuable, if you find this video valuable, please press like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.